Hello, Catholic world. This is Catholicism Lost, episode 6. Boy, I tell you, there's a lot of mad Catholics in this world. Traditionalists and Novus Ordo alike are not liking this document that come out of the Vatican last week. They are not liking it a bit, and they shouldn't. Enough of that for now. We'll see what happens. Things like this could get big enough and bad enough to cause a big rift in the Catholic Church, possibly even a split. You just never can tell. Anyway, I want to talk about a little bit what our priest talked about. He was a visiting priest. What he talked about here last Sunday. This is actually Monday. I missed yesterday. He was talking about the church in Rome that Constantine had built, and how magnificent it is, and it's been there, of course, a very, very long time. And he's been there, and how we should all be, especially traditional Catholics, because our churches, for the most part, and altars have been left pretty much alone or changed some, but they haven't been destroyed and altar rails taken out and just been stripped of everything but maybe the Stations of the Cross and the name on the outside saying Catholic. He was saying how, and it was a really, really, really excellent sermon, how we should really, and not forget, we should be in awe when we come into the Catholic Church because of the sacredness of it, the beauty of it, the high ceilings most of the time, which you lift your mind and your soul up towards heaven. Just the beauty of the vestments and the music. He also touched on how we should not even talk in there unless absolutely necessary. We should be very quiet because we are in the presence, the Eucharistic presence of the living God, Jesus Christ. And he really wanted to drive that home for us to not forget how that we basically have one foot in heaven and one foot on earth when we go to Mass. And it is true that it is that important. It is that sacred and eloquent and all beautiful and everything you want to say about it and what happens there. And we take part of Jesus's body and blood, soul, and divinity, because body and blood, because he is true man and he is true God, soul and divinity of Jesus Christ. And there, you can tell people, if you're not going to a church that offers the sacrifice of the Mass, you're missing out. I mean, it is just such a great, it's such great knowledge to know. Us as Catholics, we take it by granted a lot of times because we get used to it. Just how awesome Mass really is. Also, wanted to touch on confession. Please, as Catholics, don't forget to go to confession. Try to go to confession at least once a year. They recommend, I think church law is that confession is for mortal sins, but you can get graces for venial sins and frequent sins that you need the grace to overcome and become, rise up the spiritual ladder, I should say, and become a better Christian. Also, he just went on and on how we should just be in awe of the Mass and of the church, and how also that you may not like everybody there, and I know not everybody likes everybody there, but he touched on really how we're a family. Jesus is our head. He is the head of the mystical body of Christ. But on earth, we're all basically a family. And we should pray for one another and try to help one another and do good things for one another, because we're a family. We're part of the mystical body of Christ. And when people sin, we're going to sin. But when people do grievous sins, it really hurts the mystical body. So I'm just asking Catholics out there, somebody that's in sin, try to talk to them. We're supposed to instruct the ignorant. We're supposed to proselytize. We're supposed to go out like the apostles did. We're supposed to go out and minister. And we're supposed to teach people the beauties of the Catholic religion. God doesn't want us sitting on our honkers and not doing nothing, and not trying to help people and leaving them in the state that they're in. I mean, everybody's been in that state. I've been in that state myself. And, you know, we got to help one another. We really do. We don't have to badger. I guess we don't really have to persecute or downtrodden thinking that we're better. We just got to remember that, you know, we could be worse one day, and we have been worse before, and we need to help one another, and we need to talk, and people need to listen, and we need to go to confession. We need to use that sacrament. Where I go, I'm going to tell you, there's a line on both sides of the church all through Mass. As long as there are priests in the confessional, there are people in line to confess their sins, venial sins, mortal sins, whatever they may have. And that's a great feeling, and that's an example to everybody that comes to our church. A lot of Novus Ordo have come to our church, and I know Novus Ordos are not big on confession, most of them. Some may be, not judging them all, but, you know, I've seen and heard stories. You know, you need to go to confession. We also had a visitor that I was really impressed with. It was a lady kind of around my age, and she come in and she was new, and she did a couple of things out of character because she didn't know our church. You could tell she was a visitor. She could be just down because of Thanksgiving. I don't know. I hope she comes back. I didn't get to see her after Mass. I went to the hall, and they had adoration. But she was really, really pious. She is probably the most pious lady I've ever seen come into that church, really. And she wasn't just trying to show off. I mean, she was in her own little zone, and she was doing her thing, and she always nodded her head at the name of God and Jesus and everything. And she just, man, I was really impressed with her. All the little things she did, I won't touch on, but that was neat to see. And hopefully she comes back. She sets a good example, whether she knows it or not. And not everybody's got to be like that, but you know, everybody's got to do things their own way. And but it's nice to see somebody that pious coming to the church. It really is. It really inspires you, and I hope she gets all her prayers answered, because she was really, really pious. I think that's probably all I wanted to touch on today. If anything else comes up of importance, I'll come back on, but if not, I will talk to you next Sunday.